And just a few years ago, we began to realize that a lot of the most serious impacts we were seeing was on women and children, and especially unborn. The impacts on our health and our ability to have the right, the human right, to produce healthy children and raise them in a healthy environment. Even our breast milk was being contaminated. So we brought together the first international symposium. Many of you were at it in California in 2010. We made a declaration for life and health, and we've been working on that ever since and been making a lot of progress with it, getting this information out to the world, but also working in a lot of our communities. So one of the things that was called for by the women that met at the first symposium was to have a second symposium, and our colleagues and relatives from Chicaloon Village who are fighting coal mining here and the effects of it. Now you're going to hear a lot about that from them as we go on. Wanted to host it, and we had other partners throughout Alaska, and we're very happy to have you here. So that's how we got here today, and we really want to talk not just about the problems that we're facing that are so similar, but also as women, we're solution oriented. I think we're problem solvers.
What do you think is the strength of Indigenous women?
We're the foundation of our communities because we're the nurturers, the caretakers, mothers, aunties, grandmothers, sisters. For my people, the women are the ones that are speaking up, taking on leadership and standing up for the land and our future generations. We won't be able to survive as we are if the continued assault on our lands is perpetuated more and more.
Walitet Kulan, and Zerokda, Kerry Suset Dilan, Talchina Clan, Kuyui de Kada Clan, Nidiana Kayak Tinzian. My name is good evening. My name is Kerry Shagana from the Water Clan on the Atna Hutana people of Chicaloon Village. This room that we're in today, right now, is called the Yanida'a School. Yanida'a means that our ancient teachings. It's our old way of teaching our children how to act and behave, how to have morals, how to have values. And this classroom this classroom is just not their only classroom that they learn in. It goes beyond that. It goes out into these woods over here, down to this creek, down to the next creek, and then across the street right here, right where you see that road that's being built for a proposed coal mine. Where in the world is there a coal mining road across the street from a school? Do we not exist? I don't know. It seems like our people are not being heard. We have the right to teach our children about our traditional ways, our values, our customs, our language. We have the right to eat the traditional foods. We have the right to teach about our spirituality. I hope that, you take back all this. Everybody's been pouring their heart out to you. I hope that you can take back something from your heart that you felt here to you, from us to you. Jeanette.
We're seeing increases of anxiety, depression, sadness, and the potential loss of sacred lands, cultural resources, and practices. The company leasing the site from the Mental Health Trust in Chicxulub, when asked if they would be willing to do an HIA project, said no. They said that they would do one only after exploration. What's going on in our community now is not unlike what happened the first time coal mining came in. There used to be signs that were posted up here. No natives and no dogs allowed. We are seeing sentiments like that again. We're reading about them all the time. Anytime a permit action comes up, anytime that there is a public meeting, we have signs coming up and down the highway now that are saying coal feeds our families and protect our jobs. We're trying to protect our lives, the future.
These materials are submitted by the IITC, the North-South Indigenous Network Against Pesticides, the Indigenous Women's Environmental and Reproductive Health Initiative, and the Native Village of Savunga, St. Lawrence Island, Alaska. They provide a human rights framework for assessing U.S. laws, policies, and practices regarding the production, use, export, and disposal and dumping of environmental toxins which have extreme detrimental health and reproductive impacts in our communities. The effects of these toxins are well known and well documented. Our submission provides extensive documentation about health impacts in a number of Indigenous communities, which include reproductive system cancers, birth defects, and developmental impairment. Their use is deliberate and permitted by U.S. law. The horrific impacts are considered to be an acceptable risk, justified by economic and/or military benefits to the U.S. and the corporations it licenses. Our submission documents that tons of banned pesticides are exported each year from the United States to other countries, causing deaths, diseases, and birth defects among Indigenous peoples, including my Yaqui communities in Sonora, Mexico. Many of these toxins then move through the environment to accumulate in the subsistence foods, ecosystems, bodies, and breast milk of Indigenous peoples in the Alaskan Arctic communities. In another example, the greatest source of mercury contamination in the U.S. is coal-fired power plants. In utero mercury exposure has permanent neurological and developmental effects. Babies in fish-eating communities are at highest risk. The continued proliferation of environmental toxins results in pervasive and egregious violations of the rights affirmed in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. These include right to health, life, subsistence, culture, conservation and protection of the environment, and the rights of women and children to be protected from all forms of violence.
And if you had to tell other young women why they should get involved in issues like this, what would you say to them?
I feel like it's a good opportunity to learn, and that one of these days, if our ancestors pass away or elders are soon to pass away, that they could take on that role. And it is a very big deal, but as they learn and go on and go to these meetings like this, they'll learn, and then they could teach younger generations, and we could just pass it on.